Every time I start a meditation, it's like I'm watching this merry-go-round in a carnival with the horses and everything. And it doesn't stop. You're just trying to find a place to leap on and get a ride. Um, but the thing that comes to me, because what I'm feeling is that there's probably some new people here, that there are two parts of your being. There's your rational, alert mind that's ego driven, and the ego is very necessary. Without the ego, you can't put on your shoes in the morning. You can't do a lot of things. You can't drive a car. You don't know what's up or down. You don't know who your friends are and who's not your friends. And it's just your ego is very important. It holds your reality together, and that's a good thing. But it's also a bad thing because in its power over you, while you're making sure everything fits inside your egoic structures, there's a whole part of your nature that you haven't explored yet, and that's your spiritual nature. As I've said for years now, from your heart down is the everyday world. It's what we call the mundane world. It's news, weather, sports, sex, drugs, rock and roll, politics, religion, family, society, peer pressure. It's all of these things. And so as we look at that, we forget about our spiritual nature. We never get above the heart very often. Every once in a while, though, you will. You'll go to church, you'll have an experience, maybe you'll go to mass or something, and you'll feel something that's really touching your heart. But generally, you're not. You're watching sports, you're, smoking marijuana, laying around on the couch, all the things that Americans do nowadays. And you're not aware of your spiritual nature. And the reason you're not aware of your spiritual nature is that you're thinking all of the time. Your mind is always going. But when we meditate, we try to stop the mind. And it's a very difficult thing to do. I mean, it's stopping your realities. We try to say, I'm going to stop my thought. So, okay, I'm going to stop my thought. And immediately we have the thought, oh, I'm stopping my thought now. I did for a second. No, I'm still trying to stop my thought. The thoughts just keep going on and on and on. And that's why we recommend some sort of spiritual practice to set up a place in your life where you intently look for discovering your spiritual nature. When I first started meditating, I was encouraged to set up a meditation table in my bedroom and put a Zendo screen around it so people coming in my bedroom wouldn't see it. And I'd sit inside that little meditation table. I had my little cushion, and I had a coffee table in front of me. And on the coffee table, I had a silk cloth and, a picture of my teacher and a mandala in the back and that sort of thing. And that was my sacred spot. I would go to that sacred spot every morning and at every night. And I would sit there and I would do my zazen practice, my form of meditation. And there are many, many ways to meditate. You can meditate with a mantra or looking at a dot in the center of a mandala, or focusing on a teacher, focusing on a candlelight, a flower, focus on anything. If you put your mind on one thing and you keep it single pointed on it, then your thoughts start to stop. And that's how the techniques work. You have a mantra, and so let's say your mantra is Shring, just the sound of of a little toy xylophone where you get the little stick and you go shring. You got that thought going in your head. So you're sitting down at your sacred spot with the intention of discovering your spiritual nature. That's why you created the little meditation table in the first place. So you sit down and you shring, 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 shring. And pretty soon your thoughts kind of slow down. Shring, shring. Maybe you don't say it so fast. Shring, shring, shring. And then you have a little pause. No thought. But the minute you have the pause, shring, the ego jumps in and says, oh, you stopped your thought, which is itself another thought. That's why it's hard. So then you go back to your mantra again. Shring, shring, pushing the thoughts away with your mantra. Shring, shring, focusing only on your mantra. Shring, shring, shring. And then it just naturally stops. And maybe this time you last more than 4 seconds before the thoughts come. Oh my gosh, I'm meditating. And you keep this up. You do it, as they say, using sacrilege here, you do it religiously. You meditate, hopefully at the same time, or pretty close to the same time every day, at your little place of power in your bedroom, with your sacred objects and your incense, or whatever you want to do to add to the ambiance. And you stop your thoughts as much as you can. And in the beginning, you'll have beginner's luck. You'll stop your thoughts, you'll have wonderful meditations, and then suddenly the thoughts will start coming back. And that's when the work begins. When beginner's luck wears off, then you have to start working, and you work at it consistently. You sit, I would set up a little digital clock on my meditation table, set the timer. So it wasn't clicking or doing anything, but I would, out of the corner of my eye every once in a while I was having thoughts, I'd look and say, how long have I meditated? And then, oh, I've got 15 minutes to go. I thought I'd meditated for 20 minutes already. And so, you work with your thoughts, you build up this system where you're meditating every day, and with the intention of waking up spiritually. And this really does a lot of good. But there's something more that you need. At least I found that in my experience, and that is you need a teacher. When I was a little boy, there was a man that taught himself to read. He learned the alphabet, and then he would come up to like a stop sign, and he would look at the stop sign and S-T-O-P, 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 S-T-O, stop. Oh, that's the word for stop. So he taught himself to read that way. It took him a long time, and he was a terrible reader, but he could read. But you take that same person and give them to a first grade teacher, and they'll have them up reading within a week. See Dick run, see Jane play, or something. It was just simple words, but you were reading, and you were getting the right attack skills when it comes to deciphering how to word reads, what vowels are, and you learn a few things that really help you to read well. So a teacher can rush you through a year, what it would take you a year's worth of work on your own, and you still wouldn't have the proper attack skills because you didn't have a teacher. Now, you can become enlightened and not have a teacher. I think Krishnamurti was one that did that, but he was pretty bright, that guy. He was pretty bright. But it's a lot better when you have a teacher. And I would venture to say that all of you have a teacher. Maybe you haven't met them yet. I think in life we have a lot of teachers. I guess in the broader spectrum of things, everyone and everything in this life is our teacher. You learn as much from failing as you do from succeeding. Everything's teaching you. What are you learning? Are you learning more how to navigate yourself down in this lower part of your life, the world of commerce and power, domination? Is that where you want to develop? Well, the bad thing about that is those things don't lead to enlightenment. It's only when you awaken up these upper chakras that enlightenment starts to really take place. Because you're not just one half, you are the complete thing. All of your life, if you haven't been meditating very much, all of your life, you've been living half awake, not aware of your spiritual nature. As a matter of fact, when you're in that sleepy spot down below, you're not even interested in enlightenment. It seems somehow weird. But once you start to awaken, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. You go into states of mind that you didn't even know existed. You're finding things about yourself and others that explain a lot of the cruelty and a lot of the heartache that's going on in the world today. You start seeing that everything is people just taking this divine energy and working at every bit of it through the lower heart, down through politics and religious organizations, and it just goes on and on. But your spiritual nature is none of that. Your spiritual nature is your eternal part. It is that has actually created this little soap opera life that you're living. And as you awaken to it, because it's always there, when you awaken to it, things become lighter and more meaningful. And if you go deep enough into your spiritual nature, you discover why you came here and what this was all about. What life lessons did you come here to learn this time around? You are an eternal being. I've heard a lot of people say they don't believe in reincarnation, but they believe in going to heaven after they die. Well, that's a reincarnation. I'm sorry, it's what it is. In my view, most people's view of heaven, no matter what religion you're in, eventually turns into a hell world. You just live it out a ways. You have eternity. We get so caught up in this world and in this life that we don't consider anything else. So it's very important to enter into self-discovery with an intention and a will. And it begins in the beginning with your little meditation table, going with a mantra, working with a teacher, becoming maybe part of a spiritual community for a while. And then you work after a while at getting free of the spiritual community because it has become routine. You've made it into just another political movement inside of you. It's not waking you up spiritually. The whole purpose of the Enlightenment Sangha is to wake you up spiritually. It's really important. This is the only thing that's important from my point of view, is to become enlightened. And try to do it in this life. Why not? So begin your meditation practice. If you haven't got a teacher, if you don't know how to meditate, you can look in your local area and see there's all kinds of fine groups. You can email me and I'll see if I can work with you a little bit. But there are good groups all around. My first introduction to meditation was transcendental meditation, which I got a lot out of. So there's all kinds of meditations. There's all kinds of spiritual groups. But your pathway is your pathway. It's not mine. It's not anybody. You have your own personal path. So I really encourage you, if you haven't started meditating, to start meditating. Set yourself up a little spiritual part of your life in your bedroom, because where you spend most of your time. You sleep, 6, 7 hours a night. Why not have your meditation table right there next to your bed, so that that energy is with you throughout the night and it follows you throughout the day. And as you set it up as a holy shrine to your own self-discovery and your own enlightenment, then you'll start having some amazing experiences. We can talk about that. So I hope that encourages some of you who haven't been meditating, who have maybe forgotten or haven't not yet meditated, to set yourself up a little meditation table. Sit down in front of it with the intention of discovering your higher self, your heart, and you focus on the throat, you focus on the third eye, and eventually you'll get into the crown. And that could take years. It's the most important task you have. And don't be afraid to shake it up every now and then. Change your form of meditation. Yeah. It's beginning stuff. But I have some beginners here listening, so good luck. So now, I think I would like to, let's do a little meditation, and then I'll go into some questions that were sent to me. This is a particularly nice piece of music. It's called Choral C by Joaquin Lovato. It's from his album Ecology. Beautiful piece of music if you're scuba diving. So let me see here. Take a breath. Last week, I asked people to send in questions. So I got 3. So I'd like to go over them with you. Here we go. I'm always delighted when people ask me questions. Sometimes I have to do a little research, which is good. I mean, that's okay. The first question comes from, I'll just use the initial J. And the question is, how do you navigate personal and universal love? For instance, a romantic relationship of conditional love and approaching life with love unconditionally. Well, we have to reconcile our divine and our transitory nature, the part of us that's here just for a little while. We have to reconcile those. In human love, it's conditional. I'll love you as long as you don't cheat on me. I'll love you as long as you don't become addicted to heroin or something like that. I mean, we have conditions. I love you as long as you don't physically abuse me or emotionally abuse me. So this kind of love is very conditional. And it's human love. And that's what attracts us to each other generally is there's a chemical thing that goes on between people that they fall in love with each other. They don't fall in love with other people, but they fall in love with that one person. And that one person is probably just as messed up as you are. No doubt, they're human, you know. It's conditional love is really tough because you don't know who you're marrying or who you're dating, because when you're dating, you're always just showing them your best side. Once you get married, 6 or 7 months, they say the honeymoon's over. That means you're not trying anymore. You're just being who you've always been. And that's when people look at their partner, well, maybe they're asleep in the morning, they look at their partner and say, if they're thinking, if I'd have known you were like this, I would not have dated you, much less married you. And they're thinking the same thing. But this is where the good part comes in. If you are really emotionally and tied to someone through a romantic relationship, then you are forced to look at your stuff. Your partner's you'll have fights every once in a while over some silly thing maybe, but you get a chance to look at yourself. You can learn a lot about yourself in a romantic relationship. I actually think romantic relationships are very positive, as long as you don't get trapped in them for a lifetime. But a romantic relationship shows you all of your flaws. You know, the problem with sequestering yourself and not getting involved with the world is you're not working on some of the issues you need to work on. Issues like jealousy or rebellion or control. We have all of these things that we just kind of go, oh, that's just the way I am. But when you get into a relationship, your partner says, I don't like that. I don't like when you speak to me in that tone of voice. I don't like it when you don't shut the cabinet doors in the kitchen. I don't like it when you don't return my phone calls. I don't like a lot of things. And your partner will pull that up on you and you guys are fighting like crazy, but you're working through you're having to look at yourself in ways that you wouldn't have looked at otherwise. So an emotional, human love relationship can be very spiritually advancing. I think it can be a very positive thing. It can also be a very negative thing, but it can be a very positive thing for allowing you to find out things about yourself that you never even took time to look at. But when you get into spiritual love, this is unconditional. And this is really tough. Because in unconditional love, there is no right or wrong. There is no, I'll love you only if. It's just, I love you. Sometimes it's referred to as the grandmother love. Oh, I love that little grandson of mine, little Jimmy. I love him so much, but I wish he had quit killing small animals. I just want him to stop doing that. But I'm going to love him. They love you, but they want you to improve. That's the guru relationship also. They love you unconditionally. They're always going to love you, but they want you to improve. And then you can get into the real unconditional love, which is the love of the divine, which is in all things, everything. The rain falls on the just and the unjust alike. It loves everything. And you say, but wait a minute. People are doing horrible things to each other. They're hurting each other. They're hurting themselves. They're destroying the planet. How can you love that? You don't love the action, but you love the energy underneath it, which is the divine spark that's creating all things. In the Far East, they have this word called yoga, which means union. Union with the mundane and with the divine. In Buddhism, they sometimes talk about the bodhisattva vow, which says, I will remain a sentient being until all sentient beings attain enlightenment. Well, that's interesting, but the only place that takes place is inside of you. Inside of you, when you have realized the oneness of God, the oneness of the divine in everything, no matter what, then you have completed the bodhisattva vow within yourself. You say, well, how can I see the divine in everyone? You have to look beyond the appearance. All the horrors and terrible things that are going on in the world, the wars, the suffering, the grief, the unspeakable grief brought on by war. You can't tell me that the mother in Ukraine, who's just lost her son, is grieving any more or any less than a mother in Russia who's just lost her son. We take this divine energy and we make it into duality, into hot and cold, in and out, me and you, us and them, and we judge everything. And we're taking that universal, unconditional love, and we are turning it in on itself. And when we turn that energy into duality, we are living in ignorance of the oneness of all, ignorance of the fact that our actions have consequences. Our actions either take us into enlightenment or they take us into more depths of the world. And the world's a very unhappy place, if you haven't noticed. So unconditional love is the goal of meditation. It's the goal of dropping all of this world stuff, all of these thoughts, all of these feelings and emotions, all of this stuff, dropping it all and realizing the oneness of the divine nature that is in all things. And when you do that, there's a part of you that wakes up to realizations and worlds and experiences that are just nothing short of a miracle. Amazing. So when you're in a relationship and you're trying to become enlightened at the same time, you're dealing with mundane things that you're doing every day. Your partner's pointing it out to you, how you're not doing the best you can. at least as far as they're concerned. And then you have this unconditional love. Your partner may not be things that you like to do. They're always doing things you don't like them to do. And you've never been much to stop telling them to quit doing it. But when you start in the awakening process, you start looking at, oh, I'm getting a reaction from them not shutting the cabinet doors in the kitchen. Where did that come from? Ooh, why do I feel the need to control them? If it bothers me that much, why can't I just go in there and shut the doors? Why do I need to say any word? They don't ever do the dishes. Well, get up and do the dishes yourself. What's your attitude? Would you rather be happy or would you rather be right? Sometimes you have to make that choice. I've always gone for the happiness myself. I'd rather be happy. So anyway, Jay, how do you navigate personal and universal love? It's a tool tandem. It's a tandem operation. You have to develop them both, in my opinion. And then in the eventuality that you become enlightened, you will reconcile them both. Your love for your partner will transcend this world. It will transcend your ego. You will start seeing your partner as you, an aspect of you. So that can be a good thing. I recommend that you read Kahlil Gibran on marriage and on children. That's a good one too. But Kahlil Gibran was a pretty cool guy. The next one is from R. And it says, there are certain things like samadhi, for example, that require experience to really understand. Are there certain things like samadhi that require experience to really understand? Is there a point when our talking about things and mental efforts to understand something using our conscious mind can get in the way? How do you know when you've crossed that line? That's a good question. We read books about things like samadhi. And we maybe see some movies about samadhi, and then we see some spiritual teachers who talk about samadhi. And we can become very, very good at talking about samadhi. But when it happens to you, there are no words. It's like describing a beautiful sunset over the ocean with puffy clouds that are turning white and gold, and little birds flying through the air, and the coast dropping off the mountains into the water below, and the waves on the ocean. Trying to describe that to someone who's blind from birth. You might hold up a little cotton ball and say, feel this is like a little cloud. It feels like, but it's not a cloud. You gotta have them touch different temperatures. Say, this is water, and this right here, this is the beach, and this is the, no matter what you say, you cannot describe it to someone who's been blind from birth. And until you experience samadhi, you can talk about it all you want. But until you experience it, you're just talking about other people's experiences. And then you try to explain it. You spend all of your time trying to explain it. Your ego is always trying to take the unknown and make it known. It's trying to take the unknowable and say, okay, well, this is what it is. I'll put it in this structure and then I can talk about it. So people have an experience of samadhi, and then they come back and they put it in some sort of religious or philosophical container, which has nothing to do with that experience at all. It's just the closest they can come to it. The cotton ball is not a cloud. Putting their hand in a bowl of water to feel the water, say, this is the ocean. Well, no, that's not the ocean. The ocean is much more than that, but that's as close as you can get. So yeah, we read about things, we talk about them. Even when we experience them, we try to talk about it, but we can't. It's beyond our comprehension, and yet it is the most amazing and profound realization that you can have, is the realization of the divine that goes beyond human comprehension, that goes beyond words or any kind of definition. It's, here I go. How do you talk about it? But we try, don't we? We're always trying. I do. I'm always trying to talk about it. You know. So thank you, R. And now we're down to B. Hi, Shiva. I have a question. For the last few days, a wide tilak grows on my forehead. Could you talk about it? Does it forecast change? Should I focus or meditate on it? Thank you. Tilak is that, a little piece of ash that you put, it goes over the Agni chakra. This is your spiritual awakening. And this person is going through an awakening. They've been following instructions or their higher self, and they've been waking up to their higher self. And now they're becoming aware of this chakra. This is a very powerful chakra. This chakra here is, a lot of people consider this to be the ultimate chakra. It isn't, of course, but they think it is because it is so amazing. This is where you look into different worlds. This is where the different levels of dimensions are, the levels of ascended masters and gods and goddesses and all of that stuff. It's all in here. It's amazing. And when you start to awaken to it, you're awakening to worlds and dimensions that you did not even know was there. So if this person's having that tilak, I think it's tilak, I might be mispronouncing it, but it's this area here starting to glow. That means that the third eye is waking up. And by all means, you should meditate on it. You should sink into it. Losing all thought, losing everything, go right into it. No withholds. But don't get stuck there. It's still in duality. People get stuck here and they write all kinds of books on ascended masters and goddesses and all kinds of experiences. But there's something more. And that's in the crown. That's in oneness. Beyond the gods and goddesses, beyond the concept of God itself, into a divine nature that is everything and everyone, gods, goddesses, ascended masters, everything all the way down to the darkest, dankest part of hell. It's all part of God. And where you place your mind and what you focus on and what you keep contemplating is what's creating your world. And too often we open up this here and then we're so busy pulling in our stuff into here that we have to get locked into the fact that I'm here and God is up there, and over here are these ascended masters, which are much better than me that I'll ever be. And over here are gods and goddesses that are better than the ascended masters. And we have this hierarchy going in ourselves about, and we're always at the bottom, of course. And I'm saying it's nice. I mean, it's nice to visit those worlds. no doubt. But don't get stuck. Move past that eventually. But right now, if it's waking up, you wake it up. You go right there, right here, right there. The only problem you may have by meditating heavily on that spot is it'll be difficult to stay focused on anything in the physical. And many gurus get caught there. They can't do anything. And people change their clothes, do everything for them. They're definitely out there. But I'm of the opinion that you can go all the way out there, but you still need to work on this. You need to work on this life. As you work on this life and deal with the issues here on a daily basis, then you don't get stuck in ecstasy. People think ecstasy is the highest. It's not. There's something better than ecstasy. Can you imagine it? No, you can't. But there is. There's a state of mind that's so high that ecstasy becomes dull. But I can't talk about it because it's samadhi. Should you go there? Absolutely. That's what this whole thing is about, is to awaken while you're still in the body. To awaken to your highest spiritual nature while you're still here before you die. Or at least go as far as you possibly can to awaken. So yeah, I want you to meditate on that third eye. Meditate for hours on it if you need to. But when you finish, come back and take care of your life. Take care of your relationships. Take care of your business. You know, I think it was Suzuki that said, first samadhi, then the laundry. We need them both. So thank you for your question. And I'll be happy to expound on this with you. And I'm encouraging the rest of you to send in your questions. And as always, I'm willing to meet with you on Zoom. The first one is free. So take advantage of it. Why not? I'm only going to be here for a while, you know. All of us are just going to be here for a while. So let's make hay while the sun shines, as they say. So anyway, I want to thank all of you for attending and for your support. We're in the process of upgrading our Enlightenment Sangha website. It's been kind of let go of for a while. So we're in the process of updating that. So in the coming weeks, it should be an exciting place for you to visit. But you can go there now and donate if you'd like. I enjoy you coming here. Subscribe. It's always a good thing to subscribe. And I just want you to know that I love you. That's unconditional. So, one last meditation. And then we'll call it a night. It's called brush fire. Namaste.